And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 34 of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And joining us tonight is a very special guest, Brady Speth, the president and CEO of Riton Optics. Brady, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, gents. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Oh, you don't have to lie to us.
I know. Damn, that came off as almost sounding 100% truthful, too.
That's why you're El Presidente, man. That's what happens. Folks, for those of you that are new to the podcast, by all means, please feel free to post your questions in our live chat. We will be happy to curate them for Brady and get them answered right here on the show. But Brady, the way we like to start the podcast, I know you might have stumbled across one or two episodes since we kind of work for you, but since you have listened to a few of the podcasts, you know that we always like to start off the show with kind of asking a magical question of who the hell are you? So without going too much into the gun side of your life, who is Brady Speth when he is not behind a trigger?
Wow, that's a good question. Where do I begin? Husband, father, 2 kids, outdoorsman. I grew up in Montana. I grew up kind of being out in nature. Love just being able to get out and do anything outdoors. Like I said, 2 kids. I got a 5-year-old and an almost 8-year-old. Been married for almost 11 years.
Congratulations.
Veteran, former law enforcement, a lot of things. So it's kind of a nutshell without going too deep.
Outstanding. So you, as we've said, are the president and founder of Riton Optics. So why don't you give everybody kind of the windshield tour of what the company's about, whatever, all the different stuff you offer and where you're located, so on and so forth.
Cool. Yeah. We're located in Tucson, Arizona. That's our headquarters. We're lucky enough. We have people all over the country, all over the world. Shout out. I see some of these comments. Shout out to our brothers up north in Canada. Got a bunch of them on tonight already posting comments. So we're headquartered in Tucson, Arizona. I was actually first stationed in Tucson back in 2003 in the Air Force. So kind of went around the world, around the U.S. and back to Tucson. So this is where we kind of put down roots as a family. And this is where Tucson's headquartered. The Riton in general, we're a full-line outdoor optics provider. We do everything from, entry-level 3-9s, red dots, all the way up to our high-end X7 line, 4 to 32 by 56 with 34 mil tube, binoculars, and kind of everything in between.
Outstanding. So, Brady, you and I have actually had the pleasure of meeting each other in person, getting to hang out, really getting to know each other over the last couple of years. And let me just say, not trying to blow any smoke or kiss any butt here, but can't really. We're not even 5 minutes into the show and you're calling BS on me. But
this will be good.
I got to say, it's been a fantastic company to work with and for to various capacities. Kent, for those that don't know, is one of the newest members to the Riton Pro Staff family.
Right.
Once they get to know me, they're going to throw me out like you would not even believe.
The clock's already started.
Yeah. Get rid of this guy.
He's keeping his tally going. So, folks, if you haven't yet, of course, I've got all the links down in the description below. But I would invite all of you to head on over to ritonoptics.com and check out some of their fantastic lineup. But, Kent, I know you had some questions for Brady. Why don't you go ahead and hit up with what you got, man?
Well, Brady, talk to me a little bit about you as a shooter. So you're a Montana dude, which means you've spent some time in the cold wilderness shooting at things that move around and don't want you to shoot back at them. What do you shoot these days? Are you a competitive shooter? Do you train? Do you get out to classes?
Short answer, not as much as I'd like to.
Right.
Most of my shooting, that probably goes for everybody on here. Like you said, I grew up hunting. That was kind of my first exposure to shooting, 5-6 years old, hunting whitetail, elk. I was fortunate enough to grow up on a cattle ranch, so we had tons of land and access to places to hunt growing up my entire life. So that was kind of my upbringing with it. And then I didn't really get into the tactical side of things until military and then law enforcement. I don't pretend to be some super secret squirrel guy. I was in the Air Force. I was an air traffic controller. So beyond basic kind kind of military tactical training. I wasn't a door kicker or anything like that. Got more tactical training kind of as I went through law enforcement. Now I love 2-gun. I love 3-gun, PRS. Anytime I can learn more and shoot longer distance and kind of show the capabilities of our product. I love doing that. Honestly, the worst part of it now is just time. I don't ever get to shoot as much as I want to. So I think we all can kind of understand that one, but I love to compete. So that's kind of in my nature. So
that's that whole turning a passion into a hobby, into a career thing.
Right. And all of a
sudden,
you don't get to do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I was to, this is going to be evil of me to ask such a terrible question, but
okay.
If I was to tell you that Riton HQ was burning to the ground right now, and you could grab one rifle and one optic and leave, and that's what you got for the zombie hordes and the Riton apocalypse and the whatever else you needed it for, what would you put your hands on? I know they're all your babies, but I'm asking you to pick one baby and save it.
Honestly, oh man, that's a tough question. Any gun? All right, I'm going sentimental value. I have some really decent guns now that I would probably want to grab if we're talking zombie apocalypse. But I actually have the first gun that I learned to shoot on, an old 2-Fed 22, open sights. I can't even say that it has a Riton optic on it. My dad made me learn with open sights. I made my son learn with open sights. I completely refinished it, Woodstock, done everything to it. So honestly, on a sentimental value, it would probably be my dad's old 22.
Awesome. And a roll of duct tape to throw a tactics on it.
Right. And then put the red dot on and away we go. Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly.
So let's talk about things I know very little about and talk about long range shooting. For me, long range shooting is a pistol red dot in 50 yards, and I feel like a superhero. So you mentioned you like to compete in PRS. What's your setup? What are you running?
Honestly, it's very, very limited as far as my competition level. I have no street cred when it comes to competition yet. I've been fortunate enough to have some really nice rifles that have been lent to us for training and demos and stuff like that. So I have a Ritter and Stark 308 that I love to shoot. Actually just got back from some trigger work. So that and it has our X7 324x56. So kind of a perfect setup for long distance, and it's a heavier gun, so it's definitely more for PRS type stuff, not for hiking around the backwoods or anything like that.
No, that's makes a lot of sense. So the company in the last 8-9 months has kind of revamped the entire product line and the offerings. We've seen rollouts with the new 2020 catalog, and why don't you speak to the levels of offering and what's new in that lineup real quick, like the highlight pieces. We don't have to.
Yeah, we could be here for a while if we go too deep.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, honestly, so we're a very feedback driven company. We're not, we've been in business for a little over 5 years now. We're not the type of company that's, hey, this is the way we've done it for the last 50 years. This is the way we're going to do it. If we get enough feedback from pro staffers, from customers, from whoever within our industry, we're very quick to adapt to what people are asking for and new technology and stuff like that. So we had built some really solid product lines, but we felt it was time to kind of revamp our product offerings, revamp our reticle selection, revamp kind of some of our magnification settings. So with 2020, the work actually started about 2 years ago. It's anywhere between an 18 and 24 month process to kind of do what we did. We were crazy. We came out with 22 new optics this year. So most other companies do 1 or 2 if they're lucky. We decided now is the time to kind of put our best foot forward and really revamp the line. So we have a couple different ways of doing it. Our marketing team killed it with kind of how we labeled them and how we kind of presented our new product line. We kind of do it 2 different ways. So one is our X series. We go X1, X3, X5, X7. That's kind of based on price point with kind of different applications and different qualities. You go up through the price points. And then we also did it based upon the application. So our Primal line is for hunting. Our Tactics line is kind of that red dot 1X, 1x6, 1-8 kind of power scopes. And then our Conquer line is kind of our long distance. So depending on how you want to shop, hey, I have a $300 budget, or hey, I'm looking for a hunting scope. We kind of broke it into those 2 different kind of product categories, so you can kind of have a better way of shopping and a better way of of getting to the right optic for your application.
That's awesome. The thing that interests me now is in the LVPO world, dudes are trying to get a 1 to. I mean, it seems like if you could get a 1 to on infinity, like guys are trying to do it.
Yeah.
And it's always funny to me that people are so focused on the very, like, it has to be 1x, it has to be 1x, and it's this big marketing push that gets put out there, and there's no true 1x like ever, because I have big thick glasses and there's already glass between me and something else, right? One of the things that is interesting to me is the binocular line, only because that gets overlooked so much.
Right.
I liked it. Riton actually has a quality binocular set, just for what it's worth.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's kind of like the stepchild of the optics world a little bit. We're very focused on kind of perfecting our magnified optics, our red dot line. Definitely see some more offerings and kind of that other side as we grow, binoculars, spotting scopes, stuff like that. So that's kind of where we transitioned to after we kind of felt like this 2020 line was perfected and released the right way we wanted to do it.
So on the line of my last little bit of techie questions, I couldn't possibly have you come on here and not talk about the fact that there's a pistol optic out, which is that's like my bailiwick. If I have any level of right to talk on here and any kind of expertise, it would be on pistol stuff, right?
Okay.
So
no, you have a right to talk on here because you use words like bailiwick.
Right?
But rim shot. So the PRD, I've got the PRD mounted to a Glock 10 millimeter right now.
Okay.
Because I figured if it was going to fail, it would fail on a 10 mil. I'm working up a 3,000 round review right now. I'm almost done with it.
Perfect.
FYI, didn't fail. The prototype first gen version.
Perfect.
I'm not going to Aaron Cowan it and spike it off of concrete 4 times, because that's not really. I mean, it's a $200 price.
No comment.
It's a $200 price point optic. I mean, Aaron does great work on what he does. I'm not trying to discredit that, but I mean, I figure if you spike most $200 to $400 optics off the ground, something's going to happen to them. That's kind of how I feel about it. So on the PRD, we chose to go to an RMR footprint. Now we chose to go to Shake Awake. We made some of those. Product improvements, Gen 1 to Gen 2. You said feedback generated.
Yep.
So that's always good. Where do you see the pistol optic line going from here? Do you see slimmer slides, or do you see any future in that? Or
I feel like you're foreshadowing, trying to lead me.
I don't know.
Can I say stay tuned for another few weeks?
Yeah. For another few weeks.
Teasers are always welcome.
We're always developing, so it never stops. Yeah, I definitely think kind of with the Glock 43, the 48s, the 365s, there's always there's room for kind of that optic side to grow there for everyday carry. We're definitely seeing the adoption of kind of red dots across the law enforcement world, something that was never considered a year ago. Now, we have agencies all over the country that are looking into, optics for their pistols. Just that they're proven as far as getting shooters that aren't necessarily hold on. For getting people that aren't necessarily like getting their proficiency or are very good with their open sights, they're seeing huge improvements with red dots. So I think that's going to be a huge growth in the market, and that was kind of why we decided to kind of do the RMR footprint, so it adapts a little bit more to what people already have out there. It's not Shake Awake yet. The current one is not. That's something we're working on. That is kind of an application that's more for law enforcement. That's something that they demand on a lot of theirs. So that's something we're working on. The current model isn't Shake Awake yet, though.
Awesome. So the to me the RMR footprint was that's the absolute most important thing, because you can get a slide anywhere that's RMR compatible
right
now, right? So versus those like old school doctor footprints and some of that stuff that the competitive guys were using on Slide Ride forever. So I liked it. We're putting out pistol optics and staying ahead of that trend. That's where that industry's going. Give it 10 years, you won't. I bet you in 10 years there'll be manufacturers selling. Well, SIG's already doing it. They're already selling their Romeo on their gun now.
Yeah,
so
package. Yep. I think it's something that's here to stay for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I think that what the biggest tell about that is I can even rewind to as near back in recent history as last year when I remember having debates and discussions with many of my colleagues that law enforcement will or will not be adopting pistol mounted red dots, and look, we're already seeing it. Actually, I think we have at least hitting the social media waves. We've had the first documented body cam footage of an officer involved shooting where he had a red dot mounted on his pistol. So it's if LV MPD is picking it up, you can bet it's only going to be so much time before it hits the rest of the country. But we are getting some questions in the chat. So real quick, Brady, you did mention this one comes from Steve Rubio in our YouTube chat. To give feedback or product suggestions, is there a formal process to place or to share that? And while we're on the topic, aside from just pro staffers, obviously you take feedback from your customer base and general population, right? So what is the preferred method for giving feedback back to Riton on your products?
On purpose, I was kind of reading through here. Stev, on purpose, we don't do a formal process. We don't want to make it hard. We don't want to send us an Instagram message, send it on Facebook, send us an email. It gets channeled through. So we're not the type, we don't want it to be a formal process. Because whenever you do that, you start limiting people's creativity, you start limiting their ability to want to go on and just give you an idea. So honestly, no, there is no formal process. We got an 800 number, we got emails, we got contact us, we have anything through our social media. So anytime that anybody has an idea, we're willing to hear it, call us up and talk about it. Honestly, that was a big thing to kind of push with our customer service side. And a lot of I know part of the pro staff training and some of that we talk about is call and just talk to us. That was a kind of a PSA I did a month or so ago with everything with COVID was, hey, I get it. There's a lot of new gun owners. There's a lot of new stuff going on out there. Like, just call and bullshit with us. That's what we're here for. We love this. Nobody works here that hates guns. Nobody works here that doesn't want to just sit here and bullshit about that for as long as they possibly can. So we love it. There's really no formal way to do it. Just call and talk to us. So
outstanding. Let's see here. We are also getting one more question. Why so many reticles?
I saw that one from Jeremy. Honestly, we got a lot of that's feedback driven. We have it goes back to everybody has their own little application that they think is right. Mills, MOA, Christmas tree reticle, duplex. Everybody has their own little niche, right? We cater to everyone. So something we have to keep in mind is like you may love a Christmas tree reticle that's an MRAD, but the guy next to you doesn't like that. He just wants a simple duplex and MOA. So one of the biggest things for us is we don't service just one portion of this demographic. We are a full line optics provider. Every reticle we tried to take feedback. We try to figure out an application that it might be used for. That this is an ever kind of evolving type thing. If something isn't popular or we need to tweak it, we'll do that. But the reason for the 2020 line is those were all kind of feedback driven with our reticle selection. And that was all internal design too. That's everything that me and one of our guys, Jeremiah, we worked together a lot to try to develop all these in-house based on what people were asking for.
Yeah, outstanding. So you know what? You did mention Jeremiah, and he is in the chat. Jeremiah, shout out to you, brother. Miss ya. Can't wait to hang out with you again. But Jeremiah, as we understand it, has a lot to do with reticle development, right? So without giving up, of course, too much of the secret sauce, where do the team members, that Jeremiah works with, and even Jeremiah himself, where do you guys kind of get the inspiration for developing a new reticle or how it's going to be used?
A lot of that is talking. We take, you've been to NRA convention with us. You've been to some of the other shows with us. A lot of that starts right there. We bring our technical team with us, bring our marketing team with us. We talk to people. So really the genesis of, if you want to take from the very start, the genesis of a reticle is, or a magnification, or, a lot of the different things we develop is a conversation. It starts with someone walking up to us and talking to us and telling us, hey, it'd be awesome if you did this. I love this. I don't like that. We don't need both. We like negative feedback too. It doesn't always have to be, perfect telling us how much you like our stuff. I get more out of it when you say, hey, this doesn't work out in the field, or this doesn't work out hunting. So honestly, a big part of it is it starts with someone talking to us. And the reality of it is we're kind of a bunch of geeks when it comes to this. Me and Jeremiah have literally scratched reticles on napkins. We've scratched reticles on Post-it notes and taken pictures and sent them back and forth. A lot of it just, I'm very open with creativity. We've thrown away hundreds of reticles, thousands of reticle ideas. And we were laughing about some of the stuff that we came up with 2 or 3 years ago of how ridiculous it was. So it all just kind of comes from, there's some genesis of someone asking us a question or an application, and then we just kind of start to develop from there.
Yeah, you mean we can't get a reticle specifically for hunting that is the outline of a deer, where you just kind of you put the deer into the outline, kind of, it's that chalk outline, man.
You'd still miss.
I feel like I've heard this actually, so don't laugh too much.
TJ, you would absolutely still miss that shot. I know you would.
Hey,
Bambi, back up 20 yards.
Yeah,
fit.
I would have to actually get a deer to come out within sight.
Yeah, they're those brown things that stand on 4 legs. Never mind. You'll see one someday. It'll be fine.
Squirrels.
Exactly.
A reticle.
So,
great troll.
One of the things I want to unpack a little bit is, like, and we kind of push through it quick. 20, how many new optics? 22, did you say?
Yeah, it was 22. Kind of a few tweaks on some existing ones, but 22 new optics that we launched this year for our X series for 2020.
For a 5-year-old company in any industry, to be able to bring out 22 product offerings and do a full revamp like that at once is almost unheard of, if not impossible, right?
You can say insane if
right.
If that's what you want to say.
Let's talk a little bit about the genesis of where, because people don't, when I talk to people about this, they don't understand how long it takes to bring a product to market in the gun world, right? They're like, why doesn't so-and-so just do blah, blah, blah? I'm like, yeah, so-and-so, just get your, Oompa Loompas to go to a CNC machine and go beepity boop, and there it is, right? That's right. People think it's just that easy. So from conception to here's the product on your digital shelves, talk me through a little bit of what that process is like for Riton and for how much you have to go through. I know it's a lot.
I had hair when I started.
There you go.
So honestly, and I'll give a huge shout out to our team. It is no easy task to do what I asked them to do. There's thousands of man hours, tens of thousands of man hours that went into this, from not only the product development, the thought process, the brainstorming, but then not only is I just made this, now what do we do? I have to have a team that markets it. I have a team that sells it. We have, so it's tens of thousands of long nights and a lot of lost sleep and a lot of stress and a lot of pretty much everything. So a huge shout out to my team. I will sit here and say that I have the best in the industry. You guys know them. So I've been fortunate enough for a younger company to have an amazing team around me. Honestly, it's like I said earlier, it's an 18 to 24 month process. Realistically, before we bring something new to the market, Jeremiah just commented man and woman hours. So sorry about that. Yes, not just man hours. Thanks, Jeremiah.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Man and woman hours in general. It's an 18 to 24 month process from when we kind of get an idea of, hey, we want to try this. Take any one of our scopes. I have a 1.8 by 24 sitting here next to me. When we want to try it, it starts at the very basics. What tube size are we using? What type of turrets are we using? What type of turret adjustments are we using? What kind of glass are we using? How is it illuminated, non-illuminated? Is it first focal plane, second focal plane? Is it? There's just so many that go into this. And like I said, I don't want to go too deep and bore people, but yeah, it's prototype. It's testing, it's more prototypes, it's more testing, it's more prototypes, it's testing. We really don't have a sellable product for anywhere, like I said, about 1.5 to 2 years before when we get through with all of this.
So that's the process as far as, okay, so we came up with the product, we're going to sell it, et cetera, et cetera. And then, I mean, there's so much R&D that goes into this field as well. So talk to me a little bit about, like, besides just getting to go out and just dump rounds through scopes and having fun with them, right? What's the R&D process like?
I started this actually when I first came up with Riton. When I first started Riton, I didn't have an R&D budget. I didn't have really anything. So I started getting prototypes made, and I started sending them to any military buddy I knew, any law enforcement friend I had, any hunting guide, anybody that I knew that was always out in the field. That's how we started with Riton R&D, and that's kind of where it still is. We use our pro staff team for that a little bit now. We have kind of a bigger option of people to choose from, but honestly, it's still, hey, one of my Army buddies in Alaska, I'm going to send you 2 scopes and it's 40 below. Go shoot them and let me know what happens. Let me know how the fog proofing works when you jump out of your truck out into the 40 below temps. So there's obviously the clinical type testing that we do, drop testing, waterproofing, that type of thing. But honestly, the feedback comes from just a lot of industry people, a lot of people that are out in the field using these. So we're not afraid to do a batch of 20 or 30 prototypes and just get them in people's hands and then let them play with them for months and then get them back and tear them apart and find out what worked, what didn't. Back to that, we're not afraid of negative feedback. That's how I prefer it to come. Tell me what you didn't like that I can fix, and then tell me what you did like, and we'll try to keep that. So that's kind of our testing process still to this day whenever we come up with something new.
I like it. The another good question in the chat was, when can we bring production to America?
Honestly, that is something that I've always wanted to do. That's always kind of a long-term goal of Riton. A lot of that comes down to money.
Right.
To set it up, there's a huge market out there for $150 3x9 by 40. To make something the quality that we're making it here in the US, that price point wouldn't stay there. So honestly, it's kind of driven by the market. The market demands, still kind of some of our X1s, X3s. It's pretty impossible to make them the quality that we're making them here in the US. And so that's something that as we grow and we can kind of start to more quantity, and more quantity means we can make them for cheaper and a little bit less expensive, then that's something is always a plan of mine. It's just a matter of getting to that point where we can start doing that here. How we kind of get around that now is we source the best glass that we can possibly find, the best aluminum, the most consistency, anything we can possibly find to take away the fact that they are getting final assembled overseas, and work around that. And just kind of to point out, that's an industry thing. That's not just Riton.
Oh, hell no.
Any of my competitors, that's exactly what we have to do right now, because that's what the market dictates, unfortunately.
I would almost be scared of an American optic at this point. Like, if I'm being totally candid, there's something to say for, you hear all the time, Japanese glass, this and that. I mean, for a company to bring something like that stateside, it'd be pretty logistically difficult for the right price point, like you're saying. So, let's see, what else do we have on our list? How about warranty?
Yeah, I'll jump into that. That's a good question. The nice part about only being 5 or 6 years old is I was able to essentially take every other warranty in the industry, find out what I liked about it, what they did right, what they did wrong, and create our own. So we can 100% say we have the best warranty in our industry. There's some other good ones out there, some other lifetime limited, warranties out there. We do an unlimited lifetime warranty. You don't register it. You don't have to fill out any paperwork. If it's one of my products, we warranty it. And that includes electronics on red dots. That includes a lot of things that these other companies aren't doing. We don't do any limited 2 years on red dots or anything like that. We do an unlimited lifetime warranty. And something that was huge to me from the very beginning, and my team works their asses off to achieve this, is we do a 48-hour turnaround on warranties. And it's not refurbished. It's not rebuilt. It's nothing like that. We give you a brand new one. You bought a new one from us. If it fails, we give you a new one back. So that's a huge thing for us, is to prove to you that we stand behind our products. That's aggressive.
Yeah. No, I can actually speak to the warranty process. So for those that are listening on the podcast after the fact, or those of you that might not have known, pro staffers don't go through anything special when it comes to warranty service. We don't get to jump to the front of the line. We don't have a special bat phone that we can ring and call Brady and cry that we broke our scope or whatever the case might be. I had one of the first optics that I had was one of the original right on microdot. So the rifle optic,
Mhm.
right? I stripped a screw out. Now, any of you that have turned a screw that has a Torx head or an Allen head to it know that those things will round out in a heartbeat. Just nature of the beast. I could not then change the various mounting heights that come with it. Went through the process, sent it in. I had it out on a Monday. I had a brand new optic at my door by that weekend.
You're not supposed to use the same Phillips head you beat the cat with, TJ. Come on, man.
Hey, it's my workshop, my rules.
Jeez,
so the warranty I can speak from experience is fantastic. I didn't have to argue with anybody. It was a quick call. Hey, what do I need to do? Hey, yeah, go through the process online, print out the form, send it back, and sure enough, by the end of that week, I had a brand new optic. So actually, it's mounted on the rifle right here over my shoulder. But yeah, still going strong. So you mentioned the production, and this is actually a question that I've been getting on a couple of my YouTube videos where I cover the Riton variable power optics. So if we're looking at the X1, X3, 5, and 7, what are some of the different qualities between those lines that people can expect with the glass itself? Are we looking at different coatings, different refining processes? What are we looking at for that?
So when it comes to glass, that's one thing from the very beginning that I was really, really serious about controlling. So X1, X3, X5, X7, no matter what the line is, you're getting the same glass. To my knowledge, as far as a full line provider, we're the only ones doing that. Any of our competitors, if it's assembled in China, you're getting Chinese glass. Assembled in the Philippines, you're getting Philippine glass. We source all of our glass out of Japan, and it gets used in the assembly of all of our scopes. So same coating, same everything. The only difference is our X7 line is ED glass, where X135 is HD glass. Same coatings that are used on all of them, just a little bit higher in glass on the X7 to start with before the coatings and stuff are applied. And it's important to know that, and the reason why I always want to distinguish this is we try to control as much of the raw material process as we can. If you were to go to the Philippines, China, Vietnam, where some of these other ones are manufactured, and you say, I want 6061 aluminum, right? Mm-hmm. There is no formal way within those countries that actually guarantees the quality of that aluminum. I just tell you it's 6061 and I can sell it to you. You tell me another guy it's 6061, he can sell it to you. There's no actual formal way of verifying that. There's no standard. So part of what we do is when all of ours are turned out of billet aluminum, 6061 T6 aircraft grade aluminum, and it's from Japan, it's verified. It is T6 6061 aluminum. So when we start, our raw materials are we know what they are. We know what's going into them. For our lower end ones, it does get final assembled in China. We don't hide behind that. It's you ask me, I'll tell you. I own the company. I'm telling it. A lot of people try to hide that. We do it based on price point. I can final assemble it in Germany if you want to pay $1,200 for it. I can final assemble it in China and I can charge you $150 for it. We still quality control everything here in the U.S. That's something that's very important for people to understand. So we control the raw material. We have oversight of the factories where final assembly happens, and we're the only company that it comes to our facility in Tucson. I have my guys take every scope out of the box. They do a full function check on everything in that scope: illumination, zoom, parallax, turrets, everything that goes through it. And then it gets boxed, and then it actually gets checked again before it gets shipped out. A lot of other companies will ship directly from a factory in the Philippines to a distributor, and they don't ever touch it. It's important that I own this company. My face is associated with this company. My name is. I'm pretty proud of my name. I'm pretty proud of what I've done to get to this point in my life. And the last thing I'm going to do is tarnish that by sending ship from the Philippines or from China straight to a dealer. So we're very proud of our process, and that's why we have such an aggressive warranty. That's why we have, such a good customer service experience. Is shit breaks. I get it. I've broken scopes. It breaks. I mean, I've broken before I started this company. When I was at law enforcement, I broke $4,000 scopes. It happens. So that's why we try to take as many of those variables out of it as we possibly can. And that starts with the glass. It starts with the aluminum and goes all the way through our quality control process.
Outstanding.
Long answer to your short question. Sorry.
That's awesome. I just had a nightmare about Wish.com scopes coming straight from China to a dealer. It just it scares me.
I am not commenting on that one.
No, I know you can't, and I certainly can't say the names of any other products or manufacturers or companies, nor will I.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm being accused of drinking moonshine.
It did look like a mason jar with some moonshine. I'm not gonna lie.
I just want to point out, if you guys would have made it to Nashville this year, moonshine's perfectly legal here. Just saying. Fun fact, you can distill, I want to say, up to 3 liters for personal consumption.
Really?
Yeah.
Bathtub moonshine?
No, it's real stuff. You could run your car on this stuff, man.
TJ's over here like, I know because my grandpappy told the judge exactly that.
It was just under 3 liters, so you're safe.
Yep. So let's see. What else do we have on the list?
Somebody had a turret question, Jeremy. If you don't mind me answering a couple.
No, do it, man.
For
it. Internals, no. That is one of the things that actually does separate the different lines, the different price points. So internals on our turrets, Jeremy asked, are the turret internals made of the same materials? No, we use a brass in our X5 line, our zero stops in our X5 line. Our X7s are actually stainless steel, so it has a little bit crisper feel to it, a little more audible. So when people do ask why is like an X3 cheaper or less expensive than an X5, same glass, same aluminum. The internals of the turret and the way that the turrets actually work is where that price difference kind of comes in. So that's a good question, Jeremy. I hope that kind of answers it. Let's see if there's any other ones about turrets or anything like that.
Yeah, most of the chat has now derailed to moonshine and
yeah, it did.
General bootleggery and barbecue and all that shenanigan.
Pretty sure somebody said if you don't get caught, isn't everything legal? So there's some points to that, I guess.
To my point, free Americans don't ask for permission.
Right? I love it.
So let's see. How about mounts? Let's talk about scope mounts a little bit.
Okay.
Are we? I'm kind of having this like. It seems to me like anymore there's either a $50 POS mount or a $300 mount, and there's like no middle ground in between. I'd love to see a company come out with, a decent $100 to $150 scope mount that, didn't have to break the bank and wasn't ridiculous.
I agree. So we actually have a couple different things. So we have our rings, retail right around $40 to $50. We have a one-piece QD mount that's a 1-inch and a 30 mil mount. Retails around 119, I believe. Which actually right here. I know some people might be listening to this later and not actually seeing this, but kind of a 2-throw QD mount. Retails around 119. That one's been really good. We've had that in our product line for I think almost 3 years or so. We did this last year because of the launch of our X7 line. We have a lot of issues through customer service of when we talk to customers, hey, scope's not holding zero, scope's moving during tracking. When we troubleshoot that, a lot of that comes back to the rails and the mounting system. So we actually went out and found a company in Italy called Contessa that makes super high-end mounts. They've been doing machining and metalwork for Beretta and Benelli and some of the Italian companies for about 80 years. They make incredible mounts. I don't have any. I might have one here in front of me. Here's one of their QD mounts for those that do have the ability to look. So we actually went out and started working with them and became an importer. So we have a Riton by Contessa rings and mounts that we started bringing in this year to our lineup. They do aluminum, they do hardened steel, then typical Italian flair. The fit and finish on them is amazing. So that was something we wanted to make sure we took that variable out of it. Some of them, the QDs on the 34 mils do get a little up there in price around the 300 mark. the hardened steel rings and some of the tactical rings and aluminum rings are right around that 100 mark. So they're very affordable, especially when you're putting them on a $2,000 to $3,000 scope. So that was important for us to try to eliminate as many variables as we possibly can when people are calling in having issues.
Yeah, so I do want to speak to that because I actually just put my order in for one of those Contessa mounts. One of the things that really kind of tipped the scales for me was they actually took the time to integrate a bubble level into the mount. So for those that don't know, a quality bubble level is going to run you about $100 by itself. That little green ampule of water and a bubble of air.
There, so you can see it.
$100, yeah. So Brady's got his up on the screen. So those that have been following along on my YouTube channel know that I have been experimenting with the 6.5 Grendel and trying to demonstrate exactly how far out we can get with that. And I will tell you what, the things that I have learned about long range shooting with that cartridge and with that platform, and of course a 6 to 24 Riton scope, the bubble level is crucial, as is a quality mount. I've had it happen on many bolt guns before. I've got several of the Riton, the original Riton, one piece QD mounts, and they work fantastic. But when you're wanting to reach out to 1,000+ yards, and I'm sure Jeremiah can attest to this as well, you want to spend the money and make sure that everything between the gun and the retic and the scope is as locked solid as possible. So you got to spend the money if you want to get there. Is it
what
doable?
If I want to blame the equipment?
Sure. I mean,
what if I want to blame the equipment on my terrible marksmanship skills, and I want to be like, nah, man, it must be that UTG riser. That's what happened. It can't possibly be my totally defunct skill set.
It's wish.com, and Kent, we are getting the robot voice from you again. So folks, if you're new to the podcast, actually just right on about the hour, Kent starts getting robot voice because, aliens and lizard people. You're muted.
TJ, why we can't have nice things. The internet hates me.
Yeah, well, we should have upgraded to Zoom like you recommended. I'm just saying. Of course, if it doesn't with Zoom, we're just going to have to keep blaming Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zuckerberg got me. I had a really intelligent question. Oh, I know. So, Brady, if you do me a favor, please, and hook me up with a left side offset mount for my rifle that nobody makes in history for a PRD, that'd be fantastic because I'm a southpaw.
Go back. So a mount for a PRD on an optic?
Offset. Left side.
Yeah, we have one of those. We have with Contessa. So I feel like people are going to think we rehearse this.
I assure you, we do not rehearse.
Listen, wait a minute. I really have one in front of me. So here's with our Contessa ring set. We do have a 45-degree offset for a PRD. It can be reversed and put either side. So it works either direction. It's just a Picatinny mount rail, so you can put it on either right side, left side, however you want to do it.
Excuse me while my screen goes blank and I go order a mount.
It works with any of the tactical rings or the one-piece Contessa Riton by Contessa mounts. It's just a little 45-degree offset Picatinny rail.
I ordered an offset setup from another manufacturer, and I could not believe that it wasn't universally swappable left to right side.
Really?
I was floored. I was like, "What in the? How is this not just backwards compatible?" My mind is blown, Tony. My mind is blown. Now I don't have to miss going around left side barricade.
I'm just going to maintain that you're not normal and you should be more like me.
The nuns just didn't beat me hard enough, and I'd be right-handed and it'd be fine.
Clearly,
literally would be fine. So
we can send you to a camp and pray that left-handedness away from you.
All the other camps I got sent to where there was praying involved, I got kicked out of eventually. So let's see. Tony, tell us about your favorite hunting trip.
I
think you mean Brady.
I'm sorry. I was reading Tony's comment where he was making fun of me.
He said send an email for a mount. I think you might have just got hooked up.
Ooh.
So and then somebody said, "Aren't you Lutheran?" So you might want to answer that one.
Holy crap! There's a guy who was actually at a camp with me where we prayed for real. Tony Padawan. No shit. How scary is that? You never know who's on the internet.
So I think somebody else asked me about a hunting trip earlier up here.
Yeah, Corey brought it up.
Of course he did. Thanks, Corey. So favorite hunting trip. I don't know, man. My favorite hunting is family tradition was always Thanksgiving morning. So I'll answer this with kind of two. So Thanksgiving morning, me, my dad, my two brothers would always go. My mom would start making Thanksgiving dinner. We kind of knew where the animals were because, we worked the ranch. We were always out, kind of outside. So that was kind of our thing was Thanksgiving morning. We would always wake up and go hunting, and we'd always come back with whatever season it happened to be at the time. Most of the time it was deer. So we'd always come back with 4 deer, hang them up in the barn, and always have kind of the hunting season done before Thanksgiving dinner was served. So that was kind of a family tradition since I was a little kid that we always went and did that. The favorite hunting trip, I've been lucky to go on some crazy ones. No, I have not hunted in Texas. I want to, Brian, so let me know. I've been fortunate enough to go to Africa 2 times in the last year. So those were crazy to just hunt with a completely different set of animals. Here in Arizona, you hike and scout and hike and glass and hike and scout for days. In Africa, it's like hunting ADD. You're like, yeah, let's go after that impala. And then you start walking and you're like, oh shit, what was that? And then you start chasing something else and then something else. So literally it was super hard to focus on the animal that you wanted to hunt in Africa. So
before you know it, it's hunting you.
Yeah, right. So yeah, and then there's a whole side of we got chased by Cape buffalo. There's a side of it that you always kind of have to have kind of one eye looking around. Those events are fun just because it's a new experience, something you've never done before in your life, seeing animals that you've never seen. I went hunting in Alaska for moose, which was a miserable experience, one that I'll never forget, just simply because walking through the tundra, you walk a mile and it feels like you've walked 20. And then you're sweating your ass off. You feel like you just want to stop walking. You turn around and you're, half a mile from the truck. So there's a whole nother experience. And then you walk for days and might see a moose, might not, might see a bear. It makes you feel about this big in the universe when you're walking through the middle of Alaska. So kind of some different types of hunts. I love just being out and I kind of, because I was fortunate enough to shoot a lot of animals growing up, it's not really about the game anymore. I hate to say that because I love hunting. I love harvesting animals. I just love getting out. So if I can take one of the guys that works for us, I was there with his first whitetail that he ever killed, and he was in his 40s. That was a huge experience for me. That was so much fun to take somebody out for their first hunt. I just like being out. The camaraderie, the campfire part of hunting is huge for me. I've been one of those people that's lucky enough to have hunted my entire life. So it's kind of less about the actual animal at this point and more about the experience.
Well, let's pull this string a little bit. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
As someone who is clearly a seasoned hunter, you've hunted on multiple continents, multiple states. What has been the favorite game that you've gone after?
As far as what do you mean favorite?
Whatever. Maybe it was the most thrilling hunt. Maybe it was the one that was the most delicious. I mean, venison is great for Thanksgiving morning. Don't get me wrong,
right?
But maybe
you
it was.
Wouldn't
maybe
know.
it was.
You wouldn't know.
I have killed many deer.
Truck bumpers don't count, buddy.
With my truck. Fun fact: I've actually hit 2 deer simultaneously with my Dodge.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we'll tell that story on another show. But yeah, I'm curious of all the different animals you've hunted, which of those hunts, which game was your favorite?
Oh man, I gotta think back. I think probably elk hunting growing up in Montana. Because there's no sound in the world like when the forest it's snowing and the forest is dead quiet and you hear a herd of elk running through the woods. So that the chase and actually going to what is kind of a huge animal for a prey animal. We have grizzlies, we have different things like that. But really, I think that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had is chasing elk in Montana. Because it was always snowing. I don't know why. It's just that whenever the season hit, it's my memories of that is always snowing, always freezing my ass off. But then as soon as like you see a herd of elk, nothing matters. The only thing you want to do, and you will follow them for hours and days because it just gets into your system. So probably my favorite game to hunt and chase is elk. It's probably also, for the amount of time I've spent doing it, probably my least successful hunts. So I think that's probably part of it too, is there's kind of like something in me that wants to get back to Montana and hunt elk now that I've what I know now, and I've grown, and I've kind of know a little bit more about hunting than I did when I was a kid, just running through the forest in blue jeans and snow boots, so.
Yep. Can relate. I like how you're talking about being in Alaska and being a half a mile from the truck. And I'm thinking about, I could reach back and touch the truck from where we were sitting in the Pennsylvania game lands. It felt like sometimes it's like,
yeah,
you could like see the glimmer off the hood and you're like, I don't think we're far enough in the woods yet. Yeah.
But I want to go back.
It's
warm there. It's warm there. No, that's awesome. That's probably an animal that's on my bucket list of hunts to go on. I'd love to just get the family together and go on an elk hunt. You and I have actually talked about that, organizing a hunt and going after something big. I mean, I'll be the spotter because I'm not going to kill anything. Let's be honest.
New Brunswick bear hunt for me, by the way. Nicktoll, New Brunswick hunting bear was you talked about like seeing how small you are in the universe as you're like looking at the map, and you just keep doing the like finger pinch zoom out thing.
Yeah.
You have to keep going until your freaking GPS shows you a road, and you're like, holy shit.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
I'm literally in the middle of nowhere.
I immediately regret this decision.
Yeah.
So with that, let's circle back around a little bit, because we got so excited onto the optics themselves. Let's talk more about the company. So you mentioned that you were in the Air Force and you were law enforcement. Between your veteran service and where you're at today, whereabouts did Riton come from, and how did you get it started? And I think also what we'd all love to know is, where did you come up with the name Riton?
Yeah, I'll start with, so military, got out of the Air Force, got my degree, ended up taking a federal agent job, federal law enforcement job out in Washington, D.C. So I was a member of the Capitol Police. That's kind of where Riton started. I started consulting for an optics manufacturing company. I don't claim to be, an optical engineer or anything like that, but I'm really good with kind of the interaction with the user and the optic. So that's actually to this day kind of where I still have a lot of input on our development side. I started consulting, and I started kind of giving input as far as, from my hunting background, from law enforcement, from how to use an optic with gloves on, how to use it when you're sweating your ass off in the DC humidity in July, what happens when you're bloody, what happens, the interaction between the human and the actual optic. So I started consulting on that side of it. And I was still working as a law enforcement officer at the Capitol Police. And I started actually thinking, hey, I have ideas that these guys aren't actually acting upon. I was giving feedback and they weren't taking those ideas. Not that my ideas were better, it just wasn't the direction that they were kind of wanted to go or take that feedback. So I started actually having kind of, hey, don't pay me, just build me this prototype. I want to see what this would actually be. I want to see my idea come to life. Mm-hmm. So I started getting prototypes built instead of kind of getting paid from them as I consulted. And that kind of led into, longer story short, what was our very first kind of Mod 3, Mod 5 design. So I got a 3 to 12, a 4.5 to 18 at the time, and like a 1 to 4. Those were kind of my 3 scopes that I had first started. And I started kind of what I said earlier. I started sending it to my buddies like, hey, try this. Tell me what you think. Give me some feedback. And it just started super slow. I did that for a while I was out there until it came to a point where I was like, holy shit, this actually might be something. I have some good product. We've developed these now. They're actually something that people are like, hey, I would buy that if it were for sale. I was working 12, 18 nowadays at the Capitol. I just our second child had just been born, so life was pretty hectic at the time, and I literally was like full-time job, right on, and then family life, and we kind of came to a point where one of them had to give, and so we had a pretty serious conversation about it's rough to give up a good federal job. It's, I still had a lot of time in service from the military and from law enforcement. But this was something I was passionate about. And I thought there was maybe, what I was producing was something that people actually might want. So we decided to kind of take the leap and run with it. Ended up moving back to Arizona and started doing it full time. So we definitely are that kind of garage started optics company. That's kind of where it started. I remember getting the first delivery of prototype optics that the UPS guy dropped off. So it was something that we just barely started ourselves, and then kind of just ran with it. Right on. There's I think everybody wants this romantic story about how Riton came about. Honestly, I joke that it was easier to name my two kids than it was to name a company. Everything sounds great, and then you throw it up on a whiteboard and you're like, yeah, that's a perfect name, we're gonna run with that one, and then you look at it the next day and you're like, damn, that is a stupid name, like that's not gonna work. And then you start doing, like, kind of, we were talking a little earlier, you start doing searches on trademarks, start searching on registered names, and that one name that you loved, all of a sudden somebody else already has it, or it's too close to somebody else's name. Riton came about with something that at the range, I started hearing it over and over and over. The guys in the lane next to you, like, oh man, Riton, like I was right on target. You were right on. And we kept hearing, RIGHTON, Riton. Just started hearing that a ton. And then now I laugh because I hear people say Riton like all the time now. So it was something that just stuck. It's something that's catchy. It's something that now once you say it once or twice, it just sticks. So we kind of just heard it enough that we ran with it, and here we are.
So Frank just asked a question that I will answer. He says, what were some of the other names? So there's Brady's Big Old Awesome Optics Company.com. There's Foggy Glass Optics Incorporated. There's Too Many Reticles Incorporated. I don't know what else.
Wacky waving inflatable arm scope company.
Right. So Frank, the truth is, I asked that company and he laughed a lot and drank out of his water bottle a couple times and would not answer me. So I've gotten not one single answer to that question.
I can't remember. You guys asked me that earlier, and I was trying to think of.
He lying. He's sitting there. The whiteboard is like right off screen over here.
The whiteboard right there. I keep looking at it. It's not the one.
He's looking at it like I am not saying.
You heard it here, folks. The other names were so terrible. He has repressed the memory.
I really can't remember any of them. I don't know. It feels like Riton's has been the name forever. So I honestly can't remember.
So you said it was easier to name your kids. Is that why they're named Primal and Tactics? Your two children are named Primal and Tactics. That makes a lot of sense now.
X1, X3. They're simple.
Yeah. Oh my god. So in the comments, real quick, come up with your funniest name for Riton Optics, and go. Oh look, they're doing it already.
Yeah, they already are.
They're already perfect.
Right con, right off.
Right off. Call it I missed. Oh my god.
That's my company. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
This is awesome.
Anyway, I will promise you guys, there's got to be a Word document somewhere on some old iPad that has some brainstorming. So I will try to find that.
Oh, here we go. Jeremiah's Scope Company didn't stick. That's what Jeremiah says.
Some people just try to claim all the glory, like they actually contribute to the team. Right. So Tony is actually in the chat. We love Tony. He wants us to ask you about the new building. Is Riton Optics expecting?
Riton Optics, Twitter this. Yes, we are. We're in the process of. We've outgrown our Riton HQ about 4 times now, and we're kind of sick of moving. So the past 6 months or so, we've kind of found a building that we can make a future home in. So we're going to be moving here in the next few weeks. More to come on kind of the details, and some John's doing some cool videos and stuff like that, kind of show everybody where the new Riton HQ is going to be. But yeah, we're tired of moving. We've been growing, which is an incredible thing as an owner of a company, to be outgrowing our facilities every year and a half.
This sounds real familiar, doesn't it, TJ?
It does.
We just heard this story from Kurt from Blue Alpha Gear last week. He was talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Just what a cool thing to hear about companies being so successful that they have to double down in space all the time.
It's I'm super stoked for it. It's something we've been wanting and needing for a while. Our guys have to move 2 things just to get to 1 thing at this point. So we're kind of bursting at the seams in our current location. So yeah, I'm super excited. So yeah, there'll be some more to follow with new Riton HQ.
So last question for the night before we let you get out of here and we start doing our wrap up and all that good stuff. Unfortunately, we have to ask this question because #COVID. How's everybody out there in Arizona doing? Is everybody doing okay? Nothing crazy, nothing terrible, I hope.
No, Arizonans as a whole are pretty independent people, and we're not kind of on top of each other. We're spread out where everybody seems to be kind of working through this, just like the rest of the country, obviously taking it as it comes. I'm fortunate enough to have super adaptable people on the team, so they have just been rolling with this. I know some of them are getting kind of lonely working from home, so they want to actually come back to work. So it's something that we just kind of been adapting with. We're still up and running as far as shipping, anything like that. We just kind of have been adapting our schedule. It's made it a little harder with finishing the new building and new setup. So that's kind of pushed it a little bit, trying to get moved and get everything done. But just kind of everybody's been adapting and doing well. So hopefully life will get back to normal here pretty soon and we can keep running.
That's awesome. I just found out at my day job today that I was the only one who was told to work from home. They just got rid of me. I didn't know that was a thing. They literally are paying me to stay away from them. Can you imagine?
They fixed the glitch.
Oh, yeah.
They fixed the glitch. They took your swing line stapler, they moved you to the basement, and they just quit paying you. They fixed the glitch.
That's exactly correct. So this has been it's been a really awesome chat, interactive. Thank you guys all so much for participating. Brady, the floor is yours, my friend. You have any way you let us sign off or anything? Obviously, we'll do the plugs and the promos and all that stuff, but did you have any final parting thoughts or any wisdom you wanted to beat us with?
I wish I had something spectacular to tell you. No,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, right? I mean, if you guys would have prepped me for it, I probably could have come up with something cool. No, I appreciate it. I love talking about this. Obviously, this is my passion. This is something I've been kind of eat, sleep, drink, wake up 2 a.m., write notes into my phone. Like, this is kind of my passion. I love this. I love every day coming to work. I saw a guy wearing a shirt the other day that said every morning should be Monday morning and every night should be Friday night. And I think everybody kind of gives me shit because my favorite morning of the week is Monday morning because it never stops. So I love this. As you can see in the chats, I have an amazing team. These guys are, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. They're on there answering questions and interacting with people. I'm incredibly blessed with the people I've been able to bring on board, with the interactions of people that I've met. So I love what I'm doing, and I love the people that we kind of are on this journey with. So I appreciate you guys having me on and look forward to chatting some more.
Well, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence tonight. Open invite anytime Riton et al. Wants to come back and talk or product announcements or whatever. We got to do a part 2 and talk like real down and dirty technical someday. We'll get Jeremiah and whoever else. That'd be real awesome. So real quick, there would not be Sling'N led podcast without our awesome sponsors and friends of the business and people that help us out. Obviously, like tonight's been a halfway a Riton infomercial, but in all seriousness, we appreciate the folks that help us. Riton certainly does, although so do a couple others. If you're on the range and you're not using med gear, that's a good thing. If you're on the range and you don't have med gear, that's a bad thing. So get over to www.darkangelmedical.com. Kerry is doing a 20% off sale on his entire website the last I looked. And if he's done with that, you can go back to using our code, which is BB15 for 15% off med kits. So if you don't have a tourniquet, if you don't have an IFAC, if you're not living that life, we're putting holes in shit. We should be able to plug holes in shit, so pay attention to that. Let's see. What else should we talk about? Apache Solutions is doing some awesome training down in North Carolina. So hit up those boys, Apache Solutions Training on the grams and the Facebooks and the YouTubes and all that cool stuff. Come train with me, greenmountaindefense.com/training for any calendar dates, all that kind of stuff. No, we have not canceled any more classes for the Rona. Yes, we are still operating. We've reaccommodated all the hosting. So Scott Jedlinski's still coming up here. Tim Herron's still coming up here. We got Shotgun with Ashton Ray. So all that stuff is still happening. So check it out there. Most of the classes are getting sold out there, so you boys better act quick if you want to do some playing. Let's see what else. TJ, Subscribestar. We gotta put some more stuff up on Subscribestar.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Patreon for Patriots. So if you like the idea of Patreon, but you don't want them telling you what you can say on the interwebs, come on over to our Subscribestar and hang out. And if you find this at all valuable, help support us a little bit. We can buy TJ some therapy for having to put up with me a lot.
I just want to kill a deer.
TJ wants us to kill a deer. What else? Buy knives from TJ, please. TJ, every time I say this, TJ is like, shit, I have to grind more steel. And I'm just going to keep doing it.
I mean, there's worse problems to have. I'm just saying.
Check those out. He's making really awesome knives. And HMG, our favorite firearms charity. So here's the deal, folks. Suicide is a terrible thing. If we can do anything to stop it in the gun world, we will do that. I'm really proud to be a board member of holdmyguns.org. So we're offering a freedom-based solution for temporary firearms storage. If you need to take a break from lethal means in your home, go to holdmyguns.org for all the information on that. We've been we were the first podcast for HMG, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
So we've been there from the start, and we're really proud to continue on that. And support the sources and resources that give you this awesome information for free. I don't care if it's ours or somebody else's. If you're over on PNS, or if you're checking out Chuck, or if you're checking out Scott, or whoever else's podcast and good information you're listening to, y'all like, favorite, subscribe, share, help us, please. We're fighting an uphill battle against the YouTubes and the algorithms, and Zuckerberg don't like guns. So what else is new? TJ, what do you got, man? Take us home.
Oh, yeah, man. So, Brady, as always, we appreciate having you on. We appreciate you agreeing to come on the show. We, as Ken said, we certainly want to extend a standing invitation for you and the rest of the Right On staff. If they want to come on, we would love to have them, and we could really dig into the weeds with this and help make the shooters and owners and future owners of Right On scopes all that much more educated on the equipment that you guys are putting out. With that, everybody, Kent and I both have our own independent YouTube channels as well as Instagram and Facebook. Follow us at I am the Sling'N Ginger, Kent at Green Mountain Defense in all the respective social media circles. We also have a joint podcast Facebook page that we just started up this past week. We'd appreciate you guys going over there and giving us a like and a follow there. You can always post your questions and interact with us on that page. We'll be happy to air your questions on the channel and during the podcast and other live broadcasts. Join us Friday for our COVID-19 hangout. We're going to have Tim and Frank from Apache Solutions hanging out for us for a fan mail episode. So bring your favorite drink, kick your feet up, and let's have a grand old time Friday night. But
the fan is going to be writing
the dozens of fans.
The fan is going to be just typing away.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, folks, again, we appreciate your participation. We love having an active chat. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to follow us and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast player. We do re-air the podcast that we do every week live on the various podcast streamer applications out there. Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google, all that stuff. You can typically find us. Just search Sling'N Led Podcast. But other than that, folks, we appreciate your attendance and your patronage. Until we see each other again, God bless you all. Take care of each other and get out and shoot.
Thanks, everybody.